Good morning. We're live here from my home here. I'm down in my man cave. What I'm doing now is going out onto with my um, White Buffalo Transport and Podcast LLC. I'm going to do today's show is going to be about one of my favorite subjects, college football. We're back with college football. Um, Glad to have it back. I'm getting my show out a little bit ahead of college game day here. I'm going to go through 14 teams that I think are of significant to watch. There's obviously a bunch of others. Watching even Auburn and Baylor last night go after it. They both have some pretty good teams. They're gonna give some people some battles. And then Illinois, they look all right too. I'm not talking about them today. I watched them some last night. They were putting some Coach Bellamy there. He's doing a good job resurrecting that old program back to some level of higher power, I think, of ability. But looking at them, they also you got to take grain of salt. They're playing a much weaker opponent than they're going to play in that super Big Ten. Right now, we're down to two conferences basically, and then Notre Dame is an independent that can make a run at it, and then they'll throw in from the other what they call the Power Five. They'll let them have shots at it, but it really seems like it's all funneling into being either Big Ten or SEC. The Big Ten's ponied up a bunch of money. Uh, if you think of last year's Ohio State team, I think they had 14 people. I'd have to recheck my notes, but 14 guys drafted off of that team actually making a team. So when you look at it that way, you're talking about a heck of a good team that they had last year, and they expect to have a good one again. Money can do that. Transfer portal can help with that too. All right, so I'm calling this Gridiron Pulse. Where I got some stories to go over. Today, I'm going to dive deep with the first one I'm going to go into is ranked number one heading into the 2025 season, at least with the stats I'm looking behind. There's a lot of new faces on that team, but the same old expectations of a fan base that'll always be hungry. It's an SEC school, and this group is the Georgia Bulldogs. They're new dogs. They have the same roof bite. All right, so Carson Beck has gone down to Miami, and we'll get a chance to see him tomorrow night against Notre Dame, one of the teams I like to enjoy watching. So we'll see what he can do down there. He's still a heck of a good arm talent and a good football player. But what we're entering into is the Gunnar Stockton era. He's a redshirt junior. He has a quiet confidence to him. You could see that when he was playing last year. He's not there to dazzle people. He is all about winning. He'll do what it takes to win the ball game. He's definitely not a kid that's going to go out and hurt you. What they compare him to, that he's like a Stetson Bennett with a little more zip on the deep ball, so he can get the ball longer. He has probably a little more arm talent. If you remember, Stetson was a great ball player for them. He wanted to play there so bad that he walked on. So but he could play. The kid could play. He got him the national titles. He's got some great weapons that they picked up for him there. Gunner. No, yeah. So Gunner has some great weapons that he can work with. He's got Zachariah Branch from USC. He is lightning in cleats. The kid can move, flat out can run. If I ever coach guys like him, I'd probably still be coaching. Not to sound like Dickie V on the basketball side of things, but if you got ball players, it surely helps. But you need more than that. You're not just going to win because you have ball players. Noah Thompson and Colby Young. They're big targets with SEC toughness. And most people that respect football, when you look at the SEC, until you can play with those big boys, and the Big Ten is kind of getting to be like that with some of the teams they brought into their league. You need a toughness if you're going to win, especially with a playoff format like it is now. You're going to have to run a gauntlet, and you're going to have to be able to play. Dylan Bell returns. He's like a Swiss Army knife on offense. cutting through things, cuts right through the offense. Their real major question, because they lost a lot of guys into the NFL off of last year's offensive line, is their offensive line. And as we know, there's those of us into football, your O-line, they go a long way to making your team. Just gonna peel the hat here. They go a long way into healing your team, or making your team. The game is won, as they say, in the trenches with the big uglies. I got a face for radio, as I always say. Not that I was any significant ball player. I like playing sports, and through high school and a little bit of junior college, I was able to play some sports. But they do have 4 starters gone on that offensive line. Of note, when you look into their team, they're going to bank on Ernest Green III, Monroe Freeling. They're their anchors. But chemistry of an offensive line, it just takes time. You hear that at every level. But none more true. There's probably nothing more true to that than your offensive line. They have to gel. If you have a stud that you can put out that can set the edge on defense, they're big, tough dudes out there, then you're pretty good to go. But when it comes to your offensive line, there's a lot of communication that goes on there. It's very important to have a good center. They help to make calls. They get you in the right calls along with the quarterback. So when you get that gelling, that's a team that you can see, wow, they can do it. Next segment on Georgia, defense wins titles. So Georgia, as you could expect, is still flat out nasty. They can play some football. They got Christian Miller, Jordan Hall, Xavier McLeod. Those names alone will haunt quarterbacks. The edge rush, that's where things get murky. Gabe Harris Jr., Quintavious Johnson have the tools, but they just haven't had the reps yet in the SEC. And once they get the reps, they both look and sound to be great. And if you look at stats on Georgia in games where they have 3 or more sacks last season, Georgia dominated. In games with 1 or fewer, they looked mortal. And with any defense, let's face it, if a quarterback, because we've turned into a quarterback game and a lot of speed sweeps, if you do not have people to put pressure on the quarterback and they just have time to throw, all these kids, they're just so advanced compared to maybe even 30 years ago at the quarterback play. Segment 3 on Georgia is their road to glory. Week 1, it's a classic cake tune-up for a school like Georgia, but you never know. Marshall plays hard, and Notre Dame's throwing them on the schedule, other teams. They have to fill schedules out, and this is part of the nature of the business. And when you're in the SEC, you're through the gauntlet every week, so I don't blame them for having a tune-up. September 13th, that's your first look at what they're going to be like. Tennessee will not be one of the 14 schools I talked about. Their quarterback kind of tanked him, and he's out at UCLA, I mean. If they can get the quarterback play at Tennessee, you never know. But that should be a good old-fashioned war in the SEC. They have a late season clash with Texas, who's right up in the top 5 schools. You can interchange any of them. We'll find out in the first few weeks what the real top 10 is. And Texas, Georgia could be some sort of preview of not only an SEC championship, but with the playoff format, could even be our national championship preview. And I would say you can't sleep on they have to play Ole Miss. Florida is one of the 14 teams I'm going to talk about. And they'll be capable of creating a lot of chaos in the SEC. It's just such a dominant, big top to bottom league. And there are the people that they root just against them because they don't like the success. But if you enjoy football, you have to enjoy watching SEC football teams play. And then next thing I'm going to talk about with them, and it's my final thing on Georgia, parting shots on Georgia, and then I'll move on to Ohio State. We're going live, and it's a little bit different experience here this morning. Probably a little bit early for people. Probably can't find the page potentially, but I will post this also on this page, and I'll post it to my other account where I put stuff. Because people that have been following me as the White Buffalo Transport and LLC know that I've put out a few other podcast segments on Facebook that you can watch too. Kirby Smart's squad is chasing its third national title in 5 years. Great accomplishment. Kirby's built them right up back to the heydays of Vince Dooley and Herschel Walker. The talent is there. The culture is there. But the problem in NCAA football, the error level is razor thin. They have a new quarterback, rebuilt pass rush, and the brutality of the SEC is more brutal than ever. If Georgia can do the following, stay healthy, find a rhythm early, get pressure on defense, they're not just playoff bound. I'd have to say they're a potential title bound contender. But there's factors there when you talk about the health. And that's the first thing I'd say on any of these teams I'm going to talk about. If you're not healthy, especially at the quarterback slot and your defense, if you can't put pressure on teams, they're all good. That's what it comes down to. And then even when you move to that next level, as we know, there's guys that were All-Americans that don't make it at that next level. So we'll see what happens. That's my take on the Bulldogs. Moving over to it's saying time with Ohio State, and that means Julian saying. He's a redshirt freshman. He's a 5-star pedigree. Now he'll be the face of the Buckeyes. If you're an Ohio State person, go the Ohio State. So there's no transfer. There's no safety net. Just raw talent and sky-high expectations over there in Ohio State. And personally, I think when you build from within, you see it in pro baseball. Sometimes the Yankees are spending more on part of their infield than whole teams spend because of money structures in the NBA, Major League Baseball, and they don't win even their division. So with that said, this young man will be throwing. Julian saying, as always, over there in Ohio, what tends to happen in college football, you got these studs that can outrun the other teams because you might have NFL talent playing against. This is their peak being at the collegiate level. So Jeremiah Smith, they say he's a Heisman contender. Carnell for early season Heisman contender, good football player he's got to throw to. Carnell Tate, he's a route technician. He gets himself open. If Julian gets time, he'll put it on him, and that will cause trouble for teams. Max Clare is a transfer tight end from Purdue. Can't blame a kid for getting out of there. Last year they took their lumps, but it's a great school. If you're there for the school, I can't see you leaving Purdue. He's built like a linebacker, but moves like a slot receiver. So when you have that in the slot, they run some of those tough inside patterns. They get banged on. That'll be good for them. And there's a guy, Brian Hartline, taking over the play calling. I would expect fireworks out of this offense, but there's going to be growing pains anytime you have a new person making the play calls. You got to get together knowing what works for certain people and what doesn't. Segment 2 on the Ohio State is I'm calling it the Silver Bullets Reloaded. They're not really oh, geez, we got just a whole bunch of new guys. The backups on some of these squads are starters on other squads. So Ohio State's defense lost its entire starting front 4 NFL players. JT Tumoloa, Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, Ty Hamilton, they are all gone to the NFL. So we'll be seeing them on Sunday. So that's a nice feature to have when you're making a run at it. That's why I think last year people got so upset, and it actually helped Ohio State recharge and make the run all the way to the final game and win it. They're entering in Matt Patricia era in their defense. He's their new D coordinator. He's keeping the 4-2-5 scheme, but why would you change a scheme that won a national title? You'd look silly to go in and try to put a whole new scheme in. The pressure is there, though, because tendency NFL guys sometimes, when they're straight NFL guys, they sometimes get too fancy with their terminology, and the kids, instead of playing fast, are sitting out there thinking a lot. Matt Patricia can coach, learned under the guy that we're all going to keep an eye on with North Carolina, Billy Belichick. You can't question Bill's not on defense and football in general. That guy practices situations that no one else practices, or he probably even thinks they need to practice. Caleb Downs returns as an anchor at safety. You got Sonny Styles and Lorenzo Styles Jr. They bring versatility and speed. The question with this squad, flat out, is not talent. They're loaded with talent. Their question is chemistry. And we find out real quick today at noon. Big noon kickoff is going on. They got a bigger production staff, bigger corporation, obviously. I'm a one-man show down in my studio basement. And if you think of that, probably can see my clock in the back. It's kind of leaning my hand. I'm trying to stay as unbiased as I can. But that's going to tell a lot about the season for those two teams. The gauntlet begins for them. They got Texas week 1, Arch Manning. It's a revenge game from last year. Ohio State beat Texas in the college football semifinals. This year, it's a top 3 showdown. No matter how you look at it, some sites have it as a 1-2 game. Others have it as a 1-3 game. I'm edging with Georgia. It's hard. I don't pick against the SEC until I see someone beat them. And Ohio State did do that last year. Texas joined the SEC and showed they got the grit to be there, which you would expect. Ohio is a great high school football state. Texas, if you look into them, there's 3 sports in Texas. There's high school football, college football, and pro football. And all the other things are but events that people do. They're a big football state, as most of us know. Pennsylvania is a good old football state. New Jersey puts out a lot of good football players. So anyway, you look at it, it's a big showdown. Then if you look at the gauntlet that Ohio State runs through, they got Penn State, who's in the top 5 most people's look at. Top 10, Oregon's in it. If you're getting into top 15, Michigan's in it. The Big Ten flat out is brutal. You're playing potentially a top 10 opponent almost every other week. So that puts very little margin for error in their schedule and season. So basically, they're going to be on Coach Day over there. It's a repeat or retreat season for them. Ohio State has won 25 straight preseason openers, so they're home against Texas. We'll see if that stays going. But you can flat out look at Ohio State's roster. They've got the talent, but they are replacing a staggering number when you think about it. This is a lot of guys that went into the NFL. They're replacing 14 NFL draft picks and 2 coordinators. The coordinators is a big deal, too, because that's where the kids get their consistency from. And what I'm curious about over there in Ohio would probably be, again, back to Matt Patricia. We'll see what he does. Julian Sand doesn't need to be perfect, and sometimes that can become a problem when you step in. He needs to be clutch when they need him to be. Quarterbacks are going to be asked to bail you out a lot of times in games. If the old line holds and the defense finds a rhythm, Ohio State could be staring down title number 10 for their NCAA championships. Penn State over at Beaver Stadium there. Nittany Lions are chasing something they haven't touched in nearly 40 years. And Maestro, cue it up. What is it that they're chasing? They are chasing a national title. Penn State enters 2025 ranked number 3. It's time for them. It's not hype. It's real. So you got Ayler with his ascension here. His first segment I'm going to look at, Drew Ayler. He's back. Senior season. He came back to probably try to get the Heisman and to win a national title. He's not just the most experienced QB in the Big Ten. He's one of the best in the entire country. He could have been drafted. Not, but then it's one of those things. Are you ready yet? And I think he was smart to come back. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. I never wish bad on any kid. Last year, 3,800 yards, 32 touchdowns. It was just a near miss in the Orange Bowl. He put on a good experience there for his team. Sometimes you play good and you just don't win. He's got tons of weapons around him. Nick Singleton, Kaytron Allen, arguably the best backfield duo in America. Yes, you heard it here first. They used to be known as Linebacker U, but they put out some pretty good running backs. Notably, guy that probably was the MVP last year and probably could have got the 2,000 yards are Saquon Barkley. And that was a great move, Giants, getting rid of the best football player on the field that they had. That worked out good. All right, anyway, sorry to get off on that side note. Singleton is chasing 2,000-yard all-purpose season. Allen is a bruiser. Singleton's the burner. Together, they're a nightmare of a backfield to deal with. Receivers like Omari Evans, Liam Clifford return, and the O-line is anchored by Drew Shelton and Vega Lone. The offense isn't just a balanced offense. This could be an explosion of offense. But again, they're in that loaded Big Ten, and defenses are stingy, including theirs. Defense defines anyone's destiny is my second segment on Penn State. Penn State defense is built to dominate other teams. And when you have a dominant defense, like I said, in the day, they were considered linebacker U. They have Danny Dennis Sutton. He leads the pass rush. Zariah Fisher returns from injury, ready to wreak havoc on the edge. And when you can set the edge and you have edge rushers, that makes a big difference. I think they're great at linebacker. Linebacker U is basically still alive over there. They got Tony Rojas, Dom DeLuca, and transfer Amari Campbell from a trio that's just fast, physical, and instinctive. Campbell last year had 76 tackles and 6.5 sacks at UNC. So he moved up, and that's interesting that Belichick lost a guy like that. But I think the problem in the NFL, they need to come up with a way to like balance out how these money structures are working. Because for him to leave playing for Belichick to come up to Penn State, there's some money involved there, I'm assuming. He'll be the centerpiece for Jim Knowles' aggressive scheme. Secondary is deep and dangerous. They got Zakee Wheatley, Zion Tracy, and A.J. Harris give Penn State the potential to lock other teams down. So with a defense like that can put pressure on you and can lock down receivers and can run over running backs, they could be on the path to glory. Week 1, we don't find out a ton. They play Nevada. That's classic warm-up game. September 14th is Oregon. That's a big test. Oregon knocked Penn State out of the Big Ten title game last year, so this is a personal game. Then it's Michigan. Think of this: Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Their schedule, that's a brutal schedule. That's like being asked to run through the old kangaroo court, if you know what that is. I'm not going to explain it because it's probably considered not nice. But if Penn State goes 11-1 again, they'll definitely be in the playoffs, because 11-1 out of the Big Ten is going to get you in the playoffs. Is this Franklin's moment? James Franklin. He's year 12, so he's been at Penn State a long time. The memories of their old coach and the scandal over there that came down, that's distant memory to some people. Not the last chance, but maybe his best chance he's had. He's definitely got a roster. He's got the staff. He's got momentum. Special teams are dialed in. depth is strong, and there's hunger. So you got everything in place there. You can feel it from the people that are able to get in and check out their practices. I wish I had a badge for that. I'd travel around it. Now that I'm retired, I could get a little mobile home and travel around and watch some of these things. So at every press conference, every snap, if Penn State stays healthy and execute, they're not just contenders. To me, I'm going to pick them as a dark horse potential national champion. But each team I talk about here so far in the top three, and it's going to continue right on over to Austin, Texas with the Texas Longhorns. The eyes of Texas are upon you. So Texas is a heck of a good squad. The Longhorns, as they say, are locked, loaded, and ranked number one in a lot of polls. The Archie Manning era has officially begun, or the Arch Manning, because they call him Little Arch instead of Archie. And the stakes are a national title or bust over there in Austin. It's been a while for them to win one. Back with Mac Brown's team there. They won it back in the early 2000s. They call it Arch Madness begins. He's the most hyped quarterback in college football. He comes from the first family of football, the Mannings. When you have Uncle Peyton and Eli, both Super Bowl champions, MVP type quarterbacks, the grandfather was the legendary Ole Miss guy. And unfortunately, but he still loves that city. He played a lot of years in New Orleans and got chased around. Probably was able to help his own kids out. I remember he got Eli moved on from a situation early in his career, and I liked watching Eli. Had some great games for the Giants. But again, you can light up the college game, and people get mad. Oh, he stinks. I always say this: if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you're one of the best 32 in the planet at what you do. That's hard to be. Who's ever been one of the best 32? I know I haven't. All right, but now Arch Manning is craving his own legacy with the burnt orange. So he's gotten out of the big shadow that's got to be cast when your grandfather is Archie Manning and you're named after him. They call you Arch. And then you're the nephew of Peyton and Eli, and their father in his own right, if he hadn't hurt his neck, was a good old miss receiver, they say. But now Arch Manning has to stand on his own 2 feet. Last season when he went in, he did have flashes of brilliance and relief. He had 939 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 rushing scores. But now he's the big dog. He's the full-time starter. He's the person the team's going to look at for their success. He's definitely a Heisman favorite, not just from my look at things, but from a lot of people. So is it hype or reality? We'll find that out this afternoon at noon. Behind him, he has a stacked offense. Quintrevon Wisner returns after a 1,000-yard season. C.J. Baxter is healthy. Receivers, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore Jr., and a Stanford transfer, Emmett Mosley, give Mr. Young Manning a full arsenal. The only question where you put it, and they did have their big tackle get hurt, is that offensive line. So instead of 4 new starters, chemistry will be a big-time key. Defense wins. And again, this is another team. Texas isn't just flashy on offense. Their defense is ranked number 2 nationally heading into the season. And that's a stat you want to be. If you're a high-ranked defensive player, so it's battle-tested guys and you know what they can do, that's a big difference. That's a difference maker. Colin Simmons will lead the pass rush. He had 9 sacks last year, so that's great to have that back. Unlike the other team down there in Texas that traded their big defensive guy to the Packers. Whatever, that makes a lot of sense. Transfers like Travis Shaw and Cole Brevard, they will beef up and bolster that interior. And the secondary, it's veteran, it's fast, it's ruthless, has guys like Anthony Hill, Michael Taffy, freshman phenom, Murad Watson, give Texas elite talent at all three levels of a defense. You start with your front. If you have no front, let's face it, I was only a high school coach for a little bit of time, and if you have a front group there, you can play with anyone. Then you need your backers that can run free and hit people. And if you got the gravy there, which is your backside, if you know they can lock people down and cover, and we'll find that out how true it is today, because the road for them starts in Columbus, Ohio. Tough place to play. As I said on Ohio State's segment, Ohio State has 25 straight opening day wins at home. So we'll see if they make it 26. It's the Manning Saying Bowl is what you could call it almost. We'll see. I could see those guys matching up for a lot of years to come. It's a great showdown to open the season. It's what fans want to see. It gets you back into – you're starting with a potential national title game as your first game of the season. Pretty interesting. Then for Texas, they play San Jose State, UTEP. But even though they're doing that, the SEC slate, they got to go through Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. And every game for your SEC and Big Ten, it's like playing in a playoff game. So it's the title or turbulence year for them. Texas has made the college football playoff semifinals 2 years in a row, but they haven't won it all since 2005, back with Vince Young. This team is talented enough to break that drought, but the margin of error clearly is about as thin. It's thinner than I can make with my finger. It's razor thin. And we're going to find out quick if Arch Manning's going to rise up or be me. I think he's going to put on he's his pedigree alone. He's ready to handle this. So any game he's ever played, and he can call up probably one of the best offensive coordinators / quarterbacks. And then you got to argue with guys like Tom Brady, but just their ability to call a game from the line of scrimmage was unbelievable. So Arch has the ability to call up a great person that you're not just asking like arbitrary things. He can pick up the little things when he's watching you. The defense must dominate. If they do, Texas isn't just back. I would say Texas is potentially crowned if they stay healthy with a great quarterback and a great defense. But their question mark is the second thing. It's the argument of what you need first, the defensive line and the chicken, or the offensive line and the egg. Well, you need them both to have more chickens. So, so the reality is this: we'll find out. All right, today we are heading to Tuscaloosa as our next stop. That's the old Alabama Crimson Tide. They are in their new chapter. It's not the Nick Saban era anymore. He's gone. Kalen DeBeer is in, and the question isn't just can Alabama win. It's can they evolve into what they're trying to become, because every coach has their own little stamps they put on things. I wouldn't want DeBeer to try to be Nick Saban. There's one Nick Saban. There's one Bill Belichick. They do it their way. You can try to emulate things they do, but you got to do your personality. At the end of the day, when you coach a team, when you teach a class, when you drive your car, whatever it is you do, there's things you do that make you you. And your personality has to be you. You have to sell and do what you're comfortable with. Because if you can't, I'd almost say if it's toxic where they don't want you being you, it's time to move on. And I know for even Coach Saban, he was in the shadow of Bear Bryant for a little while. There's the story of he went into a store and someone said, "We got to get rid of that guy from LSU." And he was like, "Oh, me?" Because he wasn't as recognizable in Alabama as he is now. Jalen Milroe is out.